Hello and welcome everybody to EGL Summer Showdown Day 2. We're kicking things off here. I'll be your play-by-play. You can call me Kangas. Joined as always by Joshi. Joshi, thank you for joining us today. What a day we had yesterday as well. So real quick before we get into today's games, how you doing, man? Let's do a quick vibe check.
I'm doing pretty good. I got some bops going off on the side. We know what we're going to be listening to today, but I do have an important question. Do I have to call you Kangas? Is there something else that we could potentially negotiate?
Something we can potentially negotiate. I do have a couple other aliases right now. Sometimes if I earn the W, I can go by Quangus. I have been known as that in the past. Otherwise, the Pro Guides community knows me as I am become Kungus. So you can, you can do that one.
We could always go for the throwback Sir Butt Kick, you know?
we could, but since this is technically a Riot affiliate show, I don't think that we'll be able to use that one.
Unlucky.
But hey, he lives on in all of us, Joshi. He really does. But we're not here to talk about me and all my various aliases, Joshi. We're here to talk about some amateur League of Legends as teams are fighting for the final spots in the Proving Grounds qualifiers. We actually got some interesting news as you and I were running some numbers earlier today. But before we get into all that, let's take a look at the groups and how things have shaken out after day number 1. Across the board, you can see a lot of numbers here. What might interest you the most is what's going on in group number A. So, Joshi, talk to me about this group. Let's zoom in on group A and figure out what's exactly happening here.
Right, so just if you haven't been paying attention, you weren't watching yesterday, AOE Vice, unfortunately, is dropping from the tournament, and that means that everybody is receiving a free win against them. EGP played Conviction yesterday, so that's why they have 2 games in their history, whereas Wildcard were supposed to play AOE Vice yesterday, and that's why they look as though they have played fewer games, but it is how it is going to be shaking out all across Group A, and so we do have a little bit more information about that group that we will be sharing as the day goes on.
Exactly. It looks like basically the rest of this group is just Wildcard. They just got to play EGP. They got to play Conviction. We'll get the Wildcard games out of the way to see who's taking the top standings in this group, but notably, points. If you get 3rd place in a group, you get 20 points, and what's the cutoff right now for making it into Proving Grounds qualifiers? It's 20 points. Conviction, they're actually in after AOE Vice dropping out. This was a cool group because there were 2 teams with 0 points in them, and there could have been implications for standings based on how the 2 of them performed. But now Conviction, even though they're a team with 0 points coming in to EGL Summer Showdown, they already made it.
Yep. And in fact, every single team in all of the EGL Summer Showdown is confirmed to get into the Proving Grounds qualifiers with the exception of one team.
One team left, man.
OQ is the only team coming into this with 0 points that doesn't hit the next portion of actually making sure they have enough points. And if they get last in the group, if they end up losing the next 2 series and they end up losing a tiebreaker from there, it's possible that they end up with only 10 points, which might not be enough to get them into the Proving Grounds qualifiers. But because they already got a victory over Resolve, they are nearly guaranteed a chance to go to the Proving Grounds qualifiers. So everybody in Summer Showdown, congratulations.
Congratulations. This is the tournament of life. We're talking about groups of death, groups of life. I guess we're all having fun here. It's possible but unlikely, I think, is the way to frame that one for OQ not making it, because picking up that win against Resolve, this was a team that we were expecting to make it out of this group. But, of course, this is the group of upsets, Joshi. OQ taking down Resolve in 2-0 fashion, and TSM Amateur taking down Cloud9 Amateur as well. Do not let the current 3-letter acronym fool you. This is both amateur teams going against each other, but the important part is that TSM Amateur did upset Cloud9 yesterday. They had to reverse sweep it, but they brought it back, so this whole group is turning out to be really strange. Cloud9 Amateur were a team that had already auto-qualified into Proving Grounds itself, so they're not even going for points right now. So it's really Resolve that's looking to make the bounce back right now, because this is a team that was hoping to make that run up until the finals. But let's take a look at Group C here next, because the rest of the groups, they get a little less exciting, a little less spicy. This is kind of how we expected things to shake out here as MU was able to take up a victory. But notably, 100 Thieves Next did actually get that win over AOE Esports. That one was still an upset. So, Joshi, I think we might be cursing these teams that we're casting.
A little bit. It's been a bit rough, right? You got 100 Thieves versus AOE, and people were looking at this as kind of one of those groups of death, right? Like, is it going to be a very clear top 2 going through, or is there going to be some close series? And we already saw 100 Thieves Next has the ability to take some games off of these teams, and it's exciting to see that 100 Thieves Next is kind of coming back and resurging a little bit in the summer split. So I can't wait to see what else they're going to be doing, but we're going to shift our attention a little bit over to Group D. Make sure we talk about everybody. Spread the love. We do have Zeus and AoE Randoms picking up the just 2-0s over Supernova and Dignitas Mirage. And I just have to say, Kingus, I feel a little bit bad for Supernova and the fact that this is the third group series in a row where they end up having to be with AoE Randoms, and they have lost every single time they've gone head-to-head.
Challengers Uprising in their group. Risen in their group, now here at EGL Summer Showdown in AoE Randoms group, and they have yet to pick up that victory. AoE Randoms, competent team in their own right, and they were favorited, especially based on the track record of these teams. So Group D is really the only one currently that is shaking out how we expected. Higher seeded teams beating lower seeded teams, favorites winning over the not favorites, and also in that clean 2-0 fashion. But that's the group standings so far. So Joshi, let's start to take a look at the games ahead of us today. We're starting things off with Conviction versus Wildcard Red, and then we have Supernova taking on Zeus Gaming later on. So that first game, first match of the day, best of 3. This is Wildcard Red. This is the team that has just been winning, Joshi. They've gotten first place in both Cup and Risen, auto-qualified through Cup, and they're still competing just for the practice going into Proving Grounds. So let's take this from Conviction's side first. What do you think the paths to victory are here for Conviction? Knowing they're already going to make it into the qualifiers, but knowing that they still could try and bring it to Wildcard Red.
Yeah, it's a very good point. They do have to make sure that they are trying to compete for a better seed looking at Proving Ground qualifiers, and every opportunity you have to get through groups, go to playoffs, and get more points will be helpful later on. But we're going to be honest right now, Kingus. Conviction is a pretty new team. We haven't seen these guys all that much. They played in the open qualifiers where they beat Striking Vipers and Glaive, but they lost. Oh, I said they lost to Conviction. My notes. That's not true. But the big thing we got to know is
lost
this is their first time.
Lost
100 Thieves next. This is the first time that we're actually seeing them play in any of the Tier 2 tournaments, and we're going to wish them a lot of luck, but it is a tall task going up against what many people consider to be the best amateur team fielded right now. And I have to say, for my boys, Ravishing Ravish, and Eric Deserex Beltran, we gotta look at Nightstar and see if this guy on his Kog'Maw can really push things through and actually find a way to take down Arrow, the best AD carry in all of amateur right now.
Yeah, so you got a little insight because they were playing one of the Tier 3 tournaments in the UPL, so you actually got to watch one of their games. So if you had to just give a quick TLDR identity for this team before we're getting into pick and ban, how would you identify Conviction? What's their win condition? What do they usually play through? You already mentioned Nightstar. Is he the big star carry of the team?
He's been one of the big stars and like one of the most consistent players for the team. He's played Kog'Maw twice that I have seen, but we also have to look at Ivan Yang as a very consistent jungler overall, and the question will be, can he go up against Wildcard Red, because it is a very tough team to go against. And then Ivan Yang and Greasy Watermelon tend to roam around a fair amount in the mid-jungle duo, but Greasy Watermelon, I've watched him play Silas to great effect, but I've also watched him play Zed to, let's say, a little bit less of a great effect. And so it's seeing how they are able to build or not build advantages there will allow Nightstar to have a big impact later in the game.
Also, I just gotta say it right now. I don't know what you did to make your watermelon greasy, man, but you gotta wipe that thing out. That's kind of gross. I don't think anybody wants that.
Man, could you imagine? It was greasy watermelon and cinnamon bread before. Could you imagine
that
meal?
Was the game at the UPL. Well, I mean, cinnamon bread at least makes sense. That sounds like a delicious snack.
It is tasty. Very
greasy
very
watermelon.
bread.
Now, it is important. Let's give Conviction credit where it's due. You already highlighted the fact that they did beat Glaive Prime in the open qualifiers. Glaive Prime took third in their Risen group. So they're not a bottom 4 in their group. They didn't make it in that 12th to 16th or 13th to 16th. They made the 9th to 12th. They got a couple points by their own right here in Proving Grounds. They're currently at 20, so they've already made it in. Even if they get the minimum 10 here, they will have enough. But they did have a win there. And they also took one game off of the Prodigies yesterday. So it's not like that was a clean 2-0 from Evil Genius Prodigies. They had to come back from an early win from Conviction. So all that to be said, they are still not the favorites here. Wildcard Red are massively the #1 team that we have in amateur currently. I mean, they've won the past 2 events. But again, credit where it's due. Yeah, credit where it's due for Conviction. I think that they do still have a chance to bring it to Wildcard Red. and still show what they got here. I think we're going to have to be a little more critical of Wildcard Red in this series of, okay, how clean do you look against Conviction? But then also not be too surprised if Conviction does have some crazy picks, does have some crazy strategies, because we see that they can take games off of other teams here in the event. But now that's Conviction. Let's talk about Wildcard Red, the team everybody should already know about. I mean, these are the kings of amateur right now. Shoutouts to Myra. Shoutouts to the entire Wildcard organization for putting on a showing here. I mean, what more can be said about them other than the fact that this is just an insane roster full of top prospects in every single role. So I guess if we can take it kind of role by role, or maybe even just by favorites, who are you looking at right now, Joshi, as coming in super hot on Wildcard Red?
And we've already talked about Arrow a little bit, coming as this like superstar, this really long pedigree coming from Korea, now playing here in North America in the amateur scene just to get back towards the LCS play. But he's also being paired with one of my favorite supports in the entire amateur scene, Daption, who's been looking really strong across the board, and he clearly shows, you know, he's a very humble guy, he's got a lot to learn, but he's also absolutely adorable. In any interview that you've ever watched him come from, he's very, you know, willing to point out the things that he's doing wrong and says that he is got a lot more to do, and he's already, you know, he's in the conversation with Rhino as one of the best supports, able to make these really aggressive plays on all of the engaged supports we've been seeing him on, and I really credit Daption for some of the success that Arrow has been seeing over the past year.
Awesome to see the journey that they've had together. And yeah, Arrow has been just smurfing on everybody so far in amateur. Another player I want to highlight here, Bradley, coming in from Bethany Lutheran. He just got top 4 in collegiate, and now he's picked up. And this mid laner is absolutely insane. He's one of the best prospects that we have right now in terms of mid lane talent, and we got a lot of hot mid lane talent right now in the amateur and academy scene. So I think that Bradley's somebody you need to keep your eyes on. This guy plays everything. Every champion in the game, I would trust him to pilot in the mid lane. I think that that's going to... Yeah, true. And for a mid laner too, which we don't see in the mid lane that often. So that's going to be someone that I want to track throughout the series in particular is, do we get those crazy Bradley pop-off moments? And of course, Brandini, he's been playing since 2014. He was on P1, Echo Fox, TSM Academy, 100 Thieves Academy, Evil Geniuses Academy. Brandini has seen it all. Interesting to know, he actually, him and Arrow have both been playing about the same amount of time. Arrow's been playing since 2013. Of course, he started on KT Rolsters, so it's, you know, slight difference maybe in team performance. But Brandini still has been around and is an incredible top laner in his own right, kind of the rock of the team. And then Winston coming in from Western University. Man, I don't know what they feed the kids at Western University. We got a lot of Western University alumni in this tournament. But I mean, good for him. He's also played on Spectrum and then TSM Academy and then of course Solo Fide recently. So he's kind of had a journey through the amateur scene in his own right, but the biggest thing people would recognize him from most likely Solo Fide and TSM Academy there. So Wildcard Red, do we think they're going to take it again, Joshi? I mean, I know we talked yesterday about our favorites for the tournament. Is this just going to be the three-peat?
Probably. They're looking in really good form. All of their players have been looking confident, especially if you've been watching any of Winston's interviews, like post-game and also on the Proving Grounds pod. He's had a lot to say. He's just saying, he's like, hey, everybody who was doubting me before, I don't know what more I need to do. I've won multiple tournaments. I'm doing everything I can. Just watch me play. The only reason why I would even suspect this might not be a 2-0 is because you and I are casting it right now.
True.
We casted 2 upsets yesterday.
Yeah, I guess maybe we are just dooming Wildcard Red right now. We are the kryptonite to them. And like I said, still credit to Conviction. This is a team that we don't have a lot of information on just because they haven't played in either of the other 2 Tier 2 tournaments. They're coming in with 0 points, but they still have shown that they can take games off of teams that already are established in the amateur scene. It's just tough because it's like, I'm still leaning 2-0 Wildcard Red, and it's not particularly close. Like, I want to give Conviction one. I want to say that they could take a game, but it's one of those things where it's like, until I see them play, until I really know what they can do, I'm still saying 2-0 for Wildcard.
The only reason why we might see Conviction take a game is because Ivan Ying and Greasy Watermelon can turn up the variance, right? If they see this kind of Zed pick come out from Greasy Watermelon that we've seen before, he might have an opportunity to maybe cheese out some kills on Bradley. Like yesterday when we were watching Captain Shrimps go up against Doxa, it was kind of a David versus Goliath. This is a similar thing. Gracie Watermelon just needs to find some kind of cheesy picks that Bradley might not know the matchup particularly well, and then he might be able to snowball from there.
Now, important to note, if we do see a Zed come out from Greasy, and it's got to be a counter pick, because you cannot just blind pick that into Bradley. He's gonna pick. He's just gonna go set. He's gonna go Malphite. He's just gonna do anything that will just hard shut down that Zed. So that means that Conviction, it will really come down to how they want to draft, and we'll learn a lot about them here as we are getting ready to hop into pick and ban for this game. A reminder for everybody: teams are given the option to use Pro Draft if they wanted to ahead of time, depending on if they had the correct champions or not. Yesterday, some of the teams chose to, some of the teams chose not to, but we do have confirmation that they are going through Pro Draft. So they're just wrapping that up. What we will see is pick and ban on the live client in pick order. So we'll just be reacting with you on what they're going for, but it's not going to be in the correct pick and ban order. We won't be doing a lot of analyzing of counter picks and all this stuff, but I think we'll still get a good idea of who's going for counter picks for what. But right now, this is the live patch here, Joshi. So again, just a reminder for anybody new who has only been watching LCS and other things on the past patches, what are the big prio picks or the big changes that we see on this patch that players have been prioritizing?
Well, the big things that we're going to have to be paying a little bit more attention to right now is the fact that Nocturne's a little bit weaker, but Irelia has become really, really strong after a couple of small changes to the way that her passive works. And we saw a couple of Irelias played yesterday to great effect, and the question will be, are we going to be seeing either of these teams go for it? It doesn't strike me as much of a play for top lane or lose. I know him as top lane hero for Conviction. It doesn't seem like something he's typically shown. He's shown a lot more comfortability on something like the Aatrox, but it is something that both these teams will have to be paying a lot of attention to.
Definitely. The Aurelia pick in particular was one that just was popping off left and right yesterday, those changes. And now, I hesitate to call them buffs. I thought that they were buffs going in when I was looking at the numbers, but I've talked to other Aurelia players, and they've said, it's more of just changes. They tweaked her, made her try and feel better, but clearly players are picking up, finding success. So the bans that these two teams went for, Conviction on the blue side, so they will not get counter pick. Here, they ban away the Zinzhou, Thresh, and Callista, and Wildcard Red ban away Diana, Viego, and Cogman. Now, a reminder, we will see these picks in order, because this is on the live client. They already pre-drafted on Pro Draft. But Joshi, talk to me about Conviction's first three. What is this team composition trying to do?
It's interesting to me, the Galio doesn't have an obvious engage tool that's already been picked up. Oftentimes you can use Galio with something like a Camille to be very aggressive, but it strikes me as something that is a bit more defensive here. Instead of trying to turn up the variance against Bradley, it looks like he's going to be trying to protect whatever it was that Nightstar ends up picking. And without the Kog'Maw, I'm not sure what else he's played. It's the only champion I've seen him play. But
currently, Gamepedia is not showing us the tables for Conviction's previous games. So we're going in a little bit blind on this one, but we'll learn together. The big thing is the Lucian pick into the Galio. That is going to be no fun for Greasy Watermelon.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got another counter pick as well, the Lee Sin. I've been a bit surprised that it's taken so long for Gragas to come out as a counter pick to the Lee Sin, simply of the way that their Q interacts with Gragas' E. You know, Lee Sin lands the first part of the Q, and then all you got to do is wait for him to start the second part. You press E as Gragas, and no matter what direction you're going in, your body is so fat that you're going to stop Lee Sin from connecting with the second part of the damage no matter what. So it's really tough for...
What's going on?
Okay, hold on. Okay. I think we got a bit of a trade going on at this point.
There's no way. There's no way these are late assignments. It's got to be Yone mid with Galio support and the Vayne 80 carry. Good luck playing Vayne against Varus and Nautilus. I mean, unless I just don't understand that matchup correctly, I just feel like you're going to get outranged, you're going to get outbullied.
You definitely are. Both those things are true. It's going to be very tough for Vayne to play up against the point-and-click crowd control that you have in both the Nautilus and the Renekton later on in the game. And once you land one of those things, it becomes very easy to land everything else. Nightstar, I know, is a competent player, but he's going up against some very strong players at the same time, and it's not going to be an easy matchup. But this is one of those ways that you turn up the variance, try and make things a little bit more difficult to play, and give yourself room to make these big plays. So Conviction, they've done a couple cool things. I like the fact that the Galio is now in the support role instead of in the mid lane, and it will make their composition a little bit more exciting to watch.
And it means that the Yone has a little dive follow-up buddy, so kind of cool. And I like the Galio into the Nautilus in the lane. It's just that vein that I still keep looking at like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And also just a reminder for everybody, Happy B Player is the ID for Arrow. So this is still Arrow playing for Wildcard Red. This is the account he's been playing on throughout all of Proving Grounds tournaments, tier 2s so far. So, but just in case anyone's wondering why we were saying Arrow, but you see Happy B Player, that is why. We're going to send it to a short break here before we get back in, give the players time to load into the game and us to catch up on the client. So, short break, do your stretches, grab some water. We'll be right back with game number 1 right after this. And surprise, we're not in game yet. There was a slight pause as soon as we got in. So while we're waiting for the players to sort that out, this gives me and Joshi some more time to break down what went on in the drafting phase and kind of set the table a little bit for what these teams will be trying to accomplish. So Joshi, let's run through Wildcard's composition first. They had the Renekton in the top lane, along with Gragas jungle, Lucian mid, Vayne bot with the Nautilus support. So when we look at this core, what's Gragas' goal going to be as a jungler throughout the game? Is he trying to get Renekton fed, trying to play through bot? What's the game plan here?
I mean, he's got a lot of options. That's the nice thing about the Gragas, is you can kind of go wherever you have both the damage and the crowd control, and you can provide both an AP threat or a tank frontline for your team. So that's one of the things that I really like about the Gragas pick that Winston has gone for here. But the easiest way in order to get this guy ahead is really to kind of prey on this bottom lane, where you have a lot of crowd control coming up between the Varus and the Nautilus to try and lock down both the Vayne and Galio. And we've already touched on the fact that Nightstar is one of the big stars for the team, and if he doesn't have enough gold to be a credible threat later on in team fights, it makes it very difficult for the Conviction squad to actually find success.
And most importantly, the fact that if you get the Vayne behind, not only is this Nightstar the primary carry of the team, but it's also a champion that will struggle from behind. So running through the composition then of Conviction, we got Gwen top lane, Lee Sin in the jungle, with the Yone mid lane, Vayne and Galio. What are our thoughts? Is this a good draft? Is this just like a Conviction specific draft? Because this is definitely not something standard that we're used to seeing.
It's a very volatile draft, Kangas, and I think that's one of the big things that I'm looking at right now. Is I said they needed to turn up the variance in the game. They need to give themselves opportunities to make plays and accept the fact that even if it's going to be difficult to go up against these very skilled players, you need to have, the chance to outplay them rather than just playing something super standard. And the one pick that I really like on their composition is actually the Gwen being played up in the top lane by Play for Top or Lose / top lane hero. You'll probably hear us using those interchangeably throughout the game. But he's got the Gwen, which has the W, which makes it impossible to hit for either the Varus or the Lucian. They have to get into melee range of it, and that's where Gwen is going to thrive. And in a stronger top laner's hands, I would be super excited. I'm a little bit more hesitant based from what I've seen from Conviction previously.
Yeah, based on the games that you had already watched in the UPL, not necessarily the carry performance that we would kind of put the weight on then to carry in this game as well. But there's also other champions that can put on those carry performances. I'm also looking at that Yone in the mid lane versus the Lucian. Now, early on, can struggle with the range of that Lucian, but if you can get to your 2-item power spike, you can kind of just one-shot Lucian if you get on top of him. So I am still seeing multiple avenues here for Conviction to try and play through, but you also have that counter matchup in the jungle. So with the rise of the Gragas in the jungle again, also the cheaper items for Gragas to build towards. We've seen, even just yesterday, we saw Rocket Belt Gragas with Predator, all kinds of stuff going on with his builds. I'm still favoring Wildcard Red here, and since we hadn't actually done a hard prediction, we kind of danced around it in the pre-show before hopping into pick and ban. Now that we've seen this game, it's kind of cheating, but who are you giving this to? 2-0, 2-1, and which way?
I have to, use my brain here. My heart says I want to give Conviction a game, but my brain says nah. Wildcard Red is too strong of a team, and with the ADFX at the helm and the coaching spot, I know he's got them set up for a lot of success.
I'm going to have to echo that sentiment, Joshi, which I also, apologies to Wildcard Red, because we have both now just cursed you. As, surprise, surprise, our casts usually allow the lower-seeded team to win, but we are ready to hop into game right now, so we can get a screen off of our faces and onto the nameplates and champions of these players that we are here to highlight today, Joshi. Players in the amateur scene competing to make it to Proving Grounds Core. Both of these teams are already going to make it. One of them auto-seeded into Proving Grounds. The other one going to be going into the Proving Grounds qualifiers, but still competition awaits them ahead. It's all practice. It's all about getting into the best form that you can right now so you can make that run into Proving Grounds. We're loaded onto Summoner's Rift. So again, walk us through what you expect the early game to look like here, Joshi, from either of these teams' perspective. Yeah, no, Ducky.
Yeah, you got to pay attention a lot to these junglers in particular now because it's kind of difficult for Conviction to be aggressive in the mid lane with Yone against Lucian early on in the game. It's also, worth noting that top lane hero, play for top or lose, should have an opportunity to kind of push Renekton around for the first couple of levels. You have to note that Renekton doesn't actually have a particularly strong level 1, and depending on how he chooses to play, level 2 either. He's typically looking at level 3 where he comes online, and that might be when Winston chooses to come up top, but we already identified he's got a lot of options to instead play for the bottom side.
And also important to note that play for top or lose did take the Ignite. So that means that even more kill pressure, level 1 for this Gwen. And we have seen level 1 kills come through. But right now, Brandini will be leashing for Winston in the top side. Bot lane, meanwhile, we do see Yuli starting down here with the leash from his bot side. So that means junglers will be pathing in opposite directions. This could signal Winston trying to play for bottom. But even as I say that, Arrow and Daption, they're already on the wave. So they're just getting a lead for themselves to start off.
Well, it'll be very important to pay attention to what they actually do with the wave, right? They have the option to do with it what they want. They can pull it back towards them if they took aggro early, or they can try and get it to bounce off the turret. It's the freedom of not having to leash for your jungler that gives you an idea of what you want to do. And they're pushing a little bit aggressively. We'll see if they want to take the second wave and push it really hard to bounce it off to give Winston more freedom to put or to come down and gank, or if they just want to use the aggressive trading patterns that they have, to do more damage just on their own.
If they can hit level 2 and then just get that engage onto Nightstar, this Vayne's dead. But yeah, Conviction realized that. They back off. The hook does land onto Dinosaur, and that's a lot of damage onto Galio as well. Wow. I mean, it works either way. Wow. Heavy trading from Arrow.
Yeah, that's the tough thing you got to do as the Galio. You notice that he took the the dash level 1, so he can both get in and get out if anybody wants to go for a fight, but he doesn't have the same kind of wave control, and it does mean that Arrow and Daption are going to be able to crash this under the turret and make Nightstar and Dinosaur really unfortunate, or really unhappy. You notice how far they're playing back on the mini-map.
Yeah, they're under turret right now, and also mid lane, Bradley's getting this heavy shove here onto Greasy. It's kind of what we expected in the laning phase. The only lane winning right now for Conviction is the top side of the map, but everything according to plan overall for Wildcard. We even see Winston passing towards the bottom side right here. Is he going for a dive?
This is a bold dive.
He's spotted right now. They're going for it. They have a full wave and a half crashing right now. Who's going to tank it up? It's Daption to start. The teleport does come through. First blood confirmed here for Wildcard, but that's a double TP. Let's play for top or lose, and Greasy showing up here. So Arrow kiting back right now. Winston is there. And now attention turn to Winston instead. Over the wall, back onto Arrow. And they get him. The Varus still has summoner spells. Heals back up. He's just going to outplay this right now. That's another kill over to Wildcard Red. All right, Conviction getting a little taste of what everybody else already knew. Wildcard Red, they succeed the dive, and they even get a kill on the back end.
I was a little bit impressed with how Dinosaur played the dive initially, but the end result gets bad. They try and turn up the variance. They try and be really aggressive with bringing down both the top lane and the mid lane, and then they end up giving over another kill. So all the lead that we saw this Gwen pick up against the Renekton earlier has just disappeared, and I worry that this is a team that needs to play with variance. They need to be really aggressive early on, and unfortunately their first aggressive move just gets turned on its head.
Yeah, now they're down already. Close to 1,000 gold at 4.5 minutes. Let's take another look at the replay. Because at first I was like, this might be too aggressive, but they do have the Nautilus and the Gragas for the dive.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the taunt from Dinosaur does pull the aggro on the wrong target, right? You end up hitting Galio a little bit longer than you'd like to, and you can't take the Vayne down as quickly as you would want, but it does still mean that there's time for everybody else to go, and Daption should be able to land this nice. Yeah, no summoner spells on Nightstar or Dinosaur. They were just trying to crash that wave, but Winston linking up with Daption, just go for it. Bradley, meanwhile, getting another aggressive trade onto Greasy. Yuli will chase him away, but 20 CS.
Conviction yet to find anything, any kind of play right now.
20 CS difference from Bradley over Greasy. This is already a tough matchup that they were looking at, and then because the Yone spent so much time in the bottom lane, it's very difficult now because you're behind so much gold. But I'm also pleased to see that the early predictions that we made that Gragas was going to be spending his time down with all the crowd control in the bottom lane is coming true so far. But now Gwen...
Oh, he's going to catch out.
Oh, this is unlucky.
He's got the Predator available. He's inside the W. Brandini's here as well. No flash on the Gwen. And that's a kill to Brandini. 4-1 on the board in favor of Wildcard Red.
Man, I actually wonder, like, how much of that was unlucky and how much of that was just, like, calculated. Because you see that there's a couple wards in the topside tri-brush. They knew that he moved down at some point, but they didn't necessarily know exactly where he was. So, I mean, they just hop over. Yeah, they don't have vision of him at this point. They're just guessing that he might be over here at all. They haven't seen him. And then Winston just happens to be pathing up top for a potential dive, and then it's like, oh, there they are.
I found him, guys. I guess he was in my jungle, having some fun over there. And Yuli was nearby, too, but just not there in time. And even if he was, Bradley, he also shoved in mid, so that was just such a clean play from Wildcard Red. They didn't even need it. I don't even think they were looking for it in particular, but hey, they found it, they'll take it. Now Winston passing towards the bottom side, he's still level 5. And Yuli's around here. They might be looking for a dive, but Conviction could be ready.
Oh, they know he's there. Okay.
Yuli spotted in the brush. Daption locking him down. He's already taken half his health bar. A little bit more. Bradley's roamed down to that arrow. Gosh. Yuli's so screwed. And the calling comes out from Bradley. Under the turret. Dinosaur will go down first. Yuli tries to take the Sonic Wave. Will he trade one back? Bradley very low health. Flashes away. Greasy's joined in. Hits the ultimate onto Daption. It is a 2-for-2 trade. But can they get more? Wildcard looking for Greasy now. Arrow's still alive, but he is taking damage. He has to flash away. He's exhausted. Greasy's on top of him. The poor level 5 Varus. He's got no tank. He's getting chased down by the Yone. And is taken out, but Winston will trade back onto Nightstar. Long trade right there, but it is even across the board. Now topside, play for top or lose. He loses the 1v1 against Brandini.
Wow. Overall, Wildcard are still coming out ahead. The plays haven't been the cleanest mechanical thing so far, but they're still coming out. Look at this use of teleport from Bradley into the mid lane. He just died on the other side of the map, but he teleports back and is able to pick up an extra plate. These are just some of the small things that they do that consistently get them leads, and now Daption looking for a potential engage. He just, good dodge from Dinosaur. But every single time Wildcard is opting into a fight, and they're winning most of them. And now they have more people to try and contest this red buff.
And Winston, 303, pops a Predator, just running at Conviction. This is my red buff. Get away. I'm thirsty. I'm going to drink. Here we go. Red buff is taken now for Wildcard Red. Invading in the jungle. Successful. And they'll also get more priority mid lane. Greasy Watermelon even going for a reset here. Does not have teleport. He'll lose another wave. He's still down 40 CS right now.
Brutal stuff. When you don't have a Yone that's particularly strong, you're not going to have the same kind of freedom. But we'll take another look at this, and the big thing that we just want to pay attention to here is everybody comes down. We get a full-on party, and because it's not the same kind of coordinated dive that we saw previously, you take too much time to actually make this play. It gives Greasy Watermelon an opportunity to come down and interact with the play after a bunch of members of Wildcard have already gotten low. And because of the fact that this became such a chaotic fight and it wasn't coordinated, like Wildcard was originally looking for, it ends up being a rather even trade back and forth. And because Winston's already so strong, he's able to trade an extra kill. But it's one of those things that you have to look at Wildcard and say, you know, you've done the first couple of steps right, and we're happy to see that. Let's see if we can get the last one correct and see if we can get this game over even faster than we previously expect.
Ooh, Greasy Watermelon has to ult just to get away. Outside, they're fighting again, Joshi. Arrow taking a lot of damage. Is he going to go down here? Nightstar actually gets it. Dinosaur was still alive. Picked up by Daption. Now Nightstar's getting chased down by a level 5 Nautilus. Is he going to die? No way! Double kill to Daption.
Man, that's a tilter at this point. You just killed Arrow in the 2v2, and then Daption is still strong enough to get the 1v1 afterwards. This is why we were a little bit worried about the Vayne, right? Even if you do get some of these kills, even if you do have some gold to play with, it's going to be so hard to play up against all of the crowd control that Wildcard Red has. I mean, you pay attention to how this actually goes through. They're able to catch Arrow a little bit separated, but they don't actually get the condemned stun, and it means that Arrow has enough time to put some DPS down and give Daption enough confidence to go for the rest of this fight, and Nightstar doesn't yet have the attack speed necessary to put out the DPS to kill Daption.
Daption's just competing with the rest of his team. Who can get the most kills? Well, currently I am in the lead 4-2-2 on the Nautilus. Incredible stuff right now. And now he could be alone, but he does have backup from Winston coming in here. This is an aggressive play from Conviction. They do not realize that Daption has backup. They're going for it. Yuli just jumps in like a madman. Winston with the explosive cast. Body slam. Death right there on a Yuli. And now Greasy in a tough position right now. He's trying to get out of here. Jumps over the wall, but he's right into Winston yet again. Coley comes out. Double kill to Bradley. And Wildcard Red are just styling on Conviction right now. Maybe Nightstar can turn one back here. Ooh, condemns the body slam into the wall. Winston not getting out this time. Does have the flash. Flashes the wall. Nightstar trying to dodge out. He exhausts Arrow. But with Daption here, he will fall. Kill over to the Varus first of the game, but multiple to Wildcard Red. They are in such a lead right now.
I have to admit, though, Kangas, I'm still impressed with Conviction actually still trying things at this point in the game. They are so far behind. They were down like 6 or 7 kills, and still, they're the ones looking to try and get a dive onto Arrow and Daption. Unfortunately, they see Winston and they call an audible, and once they are taken out of their planning, it doesn't look as good, but
they're
still,
going for another.
they're trying
They're not
things.
stopping. They got one play, and it is go aggressive. Flash from Brandini. He is staying a little bit alive right now, but the chase down will come through. He's healing up as much as he can. He takes out Yuli. No way! Brandini in the 1v2. Takes one for his own life. Almost takes down the Gwen, too. What a performance here. That Gwen Drinker putting in work.
Yeah. I mean, Conviction have to keep doing this, you guys. This is the only play that makes sense for Conviction. You can't just wait for this vein to scale up. We've already talked about how difficult their job is going to be. They have to keep looking for fights. Unfortunately, they're just not picking the right ones.
Can they find this one now? It's just Winston Adaption, but Bradley is over that wall. Greasy, you got it back to mid lane. Can't fall too far behind, but he's going to get ganked. Predator popped by Winston. Bradley's chasing Watermelon over here. Galio ult is used defensively, but hey, that's a Nautilus just going to hook you right back. Daption on a killing spree. 5 kills to the Nautilus. Oh,
yeah, we'll
Joshi, this is a slaughter.
Fine. You know, we don't need Greasy Watermelon. We can take Dinosaur. It's just as good. You get the same amount of gold. They're off the map for the same amount of time. And this is where Wildcard Red has been so feared, right? They've just been every single time they're willing to go for these plays. And now I think they're just
going to kill
playing
Nightstar.
this like a scrim.
They have explosive cast. They're going to commit ultimate here from Daption, as well as the explosive cast. But Nightstar actually survives through it for right now. They don't have the damage quite yet. Taunt comes through. Daption in trouble. He's taking a lot of damage. Nightstar shut down for Dinosaur. Now Winston, the next target, and he goes down too. Nightstar picks up that one. The arrow barely misses. Arrow so close to sniping Nightstar right there. He throws out the chance of corruption. Almost takes out Dinosaur. He does. He gets him. Dodges Greasy Watermelon's ultimate as well. Arrow with the sidesteps, with the moves. Can he do more though? That's shields on Yoda. That's a lot of auto attack damage. Greasy Watermelon will get the kill.
Oh, a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes, honestly, Kangas, and it's part of why Conviction is having opportunities to play for these. When you go for all these fights, they got to work well, but Brandini going aggressive.
Yeah, and again, another 1v1 in the top lane here. Brandini not going to take another turret. Doesn't want to push too far.
True, you got to be careful, but we noticed like Winston actually missed the explosive cask in that last fight. They didn't hit Nightstar for either the damage or the displacement, and it puts them in an awkward spot. Now, Conviction, they have to keep going for these plays, and it doesn't look like Wildcard Red is respecting it yet.
They're playing for the top side. Brandini running away, doesn't have flash, doesn't have teleport. This would be a pretty big punish. Slice away, doesn't get the dice. Taunt lands, kick back, Brandini into the ward, and play for top will provide some more damage there, but Yuli picks up the kill.
We get to see this dive come into the mid lane too as well. Winston just goes really aggressive, and this feels like it should be something that Greasy was expecting. They already knew that the Gragas was behind. They thought that they could maybe retreat to the turret, but it just means that somebody else is paying for your sins. Instead of the Yone going down, it's the Galio instead. And we transition down here again, right? Like, this play makes sense. This is the combo we were talking about and hyping up and how much crowd control they have, but they end up using too many abilities at the same time. Both the hook and the explosive cast go out, and they pull the Vayne outside of the big damage that Winston is normally able to do. And Arrow does a really good job turning this play onto the Galio. Unfortunately, 80 carry in 2021, man. You're still going to die to Yone.
Oh, but Bradley saying this is a different 80 carry. A little more mobile, a little more damage early on. 5-1 and 2 on the Lucian. 1v1's Greasy under the turret right here. And they picked up that Rift Orb earlier, dropped it bot side. Now Arrow finding himself in a 1v2 situation, pops the heal, but that's Vayne right on top. Nightstar picks that up with the explosive cast. Winston on top of Vayne. Has to retreat through the bottom river here. Bradley teleported in. Bradley chasing down Nightstar. Dinosaur, meanwhile, getting 1v2'd by Daption and Winston. Both will fall. Wildcard Red will pick up even more kills.
I like the target selection.
Chasing Brandini. He threw down the Sonic Wave. Joshi, I'm sorry. It's going to be one of those ones where you just don't get to talk too much here because there's going to be a lot of action. Brandini throwing up the well play, but he's got backup from his team. He's got the Dominus. Oh, no. It's been disastrous for Conviction, but did I speak too soon? The One ultimate comes through. Winston has to jump away. It's traded back and forth. Brandini's too big, though. Double kill to Renekton. Play for top or lose. Has to retreat. Doesn't have the Ignite, not going to take this 1v1, but will take the Blast Cone to safety.
Another turret goes down to the opposite side of the map, King. Is Bradley able to grab that? And I think they also grabbed another dragon off screen that hasn't been updated just quite yet. Bradley, I mean, Jesus Christ, look at that damage.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, he's gone.
Wow.
Okay.
He's got the Sorelda's Grudge already. He's a full item up over Greasy Watermelon. This is insane.
And we get to see it again. This isn't the only time he's done it to these guys, right? He just, like, you know, gats him down really, really quickly.
That's clean.
So the question that we have to ask at this point, King, is what is our over-under for this game? How long do we think this one's actually going to be going on? Because with the amount of fighting that's happening, we haven't really touched on the fact that it's something like a 6, 7, 8,000 gold lead at 15 minutes.
Yeah, this is getting a little out of hand here. I mean, I think Conviction clearly had a game plan, and it's fight Wildcard.
They tried.
We got to just keep fighting. We got to keep going for it. But you can only do that for so long until you just start losing. And then plays like this will happen, where like the gold lead that Wildcard have. So let's think over under. I think it's going to be an under 25-minute. I'm going to call that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to agree with that. I think we have to go a little bit faster. I think I'd be willing to say it'll be 23 minutes or less.
23 minutes or less. All right, well, we'll wait until we come out of the replay and see what the current game timer is right now. And the reason we're doing that is just to highlight how strong Wildcard Red are. A reminder for everybody, this is the team that took first place in Challengers Uprising Tier 2 tournament, first place in Risen Tier 2 tournament. They qualified after the first one, and they still took the repeat against Cloud9 Amateur. And they were #1 seed in this group for a reason. A lot of teams, pretty much everybody unanimously agrees that they are the best team in Scouting Grounds currently. And they're showing us the kind of skill that they possess.
Yep. I mean, they're getting this down. I expect, the reason why I give it 23 minutes is because I expect they'll have to take the Baron at least once. But, I mean, Brandini is just being so aggressive.
Man, maybe too aggressive. They do take the turret. So, man, turn it back. Just flash out
just
a Dinosaur.
Aggressive enough.
Whoa! That was a lot of damage.
That was. Okay, Yuli doesn't know that people are here. Now he does. The Predator gives him an idea, and they gotta go like, oh, you know, maybe I don't. He's got an Eclipse, dude.
Wow.
That's a lot. Every single one of them, all of their damage dealers have sustained mythics, because they just want to take these fights really long. Wow, okay, with less than a minute left before the Baron comes up, Wildcard Red going to grab themselves another Rift Herald as well. It might actually have the opportunity to get both of them active at the same time.
All right, so next up, over under Joshi. How many kills will Bradley get this game? I'll let you go first on this one.
12.
12.
Yeah.
Well, it's over under, so you're saying above 11,
more.
basically, or 11.5. Well, let's say 11.5 is the breakup. You're saying over.
Go over. Yeah.
I'm gonna. I don't know. I feel like
do we have to go higher.
Gonna be trying to steal them. Well, they gotta feed Arrow too, right? Like he's gonna feel left out if Bradley's getting all the kills instead.
Okay.
You
want the under?
It'll all depend on how many fights we have left here, and it seems like we're gonna have a lot. I'm gonna go over as well.
Okay,
We'll both go over. But let's see. Let's see what happens right now. As Danosaurus yet again just popped real quick.
Oh,
Arrow
that's
picking
Arrow.
up that kill. Yuli goes in, says, wait a minute, my team's dead. I'm going to jump back out. Winston following up over the wall. The chase down. Greasy Watermelon tries to go back in. Keeps his jungler alive, but the same cannot be said for their unfortunate top laner. 2 quick kills over to Wildcard Red, and Bradley just shreds through Greasy Watermelon.
Oh, he's in?
The wall. Bradley, you're insane. He's taking a lot of damage. He did get exhaust, but it doesn't matter. Gets a kill into Nightstar, a double. We were way off on our game timer, Joshi. I think they're going to look to end the game right now.
Oh, that's a tough ask, though, because the timers are still so short. You got a lot you got to get through still. You got the inhibitor, you got to get the inhibitor, and you got, 10 seconds before Gwen comes back up, and there is a dragon to go play for. So it's not quite an end just yet, but we saw 2 more kills added to Bradley's kill count already. That's 3 away from us being correct. An easy triple kill is all we're asking for, Bradley. We're not greedy.
It's kind of crazy to think about that. It's like, this should happen. That's all it takes. 9-1-3, an absolute stop of a performance coming in here from Bradley, and we highlighted him before the game. This is a player everyone needs to keep their eyes on in amateur. If there's any LCS scouts out there, you're gonna remember the name Bradley after Proving Grounds, and you're starting to get a glimpse of that right now as we take a look at the replay.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. It's just one team is ahead, the other team is conviction, right? You're trying to find some opportunities. You got to find these flanks, but every single time they go for them, we're just seeing the fact that they're playing with almost no information. They don't have a lot of wards. They don't necessarily know where people are, and they go for something because they think it might be a 5v3, but it turns out it's a full 5v5, and there are just too many members of Wildcard there. So 3 more kills, again, is the big magic number that we're looking at for Bradley, if he can prove us right.
He's got the Essence Reaver. Oh my god. Bradley, 3 items at 22 minutes. He's also about to Flame Horizon Greasy Watermelon in terms of CS.
Yeah.
Baron started up right now, and that means Conviction. They'll make a play on the bottom side. Can they kill Brandini?
No.
That's a rhetorical question. I believe the answer is no. Oh, okay. No, I spoke way too soon.
Okay.
They got the damage. True damage from Nightstar is enough.
Dang it.
But the Baron is picked up.
Kangas, I only got 30 seconds left before they hit the 23-minute mark. Wildcard is not going to have Brandini alive during that whole thing.
No.
So it might be the 25 minutes between 23 and 25 where you are correct and I am not. So we'll see if Wildcard can actually pull it off. They are going to get both the Baron and the Rift Herald going at the exact same time. Maybe. No, there's no way they can finish the game in 15 seconds at this point. Not with the teleports coming through. Bradley is still here, and they're going to get the big damage going down.
Oh, he's taking some damage from the Gwen, and he can't really return it back right now. Winston has to flash away from the Galio, but Arrow could be in some trouble. He's taking a lot of damage. A kick from Yuli, but does get out. Turret will go down. Danosaur the only member to fall there, and that's Conviction support. So despite the fact that it's a 4v5, we see Wildcard Red still running through with this. We got to track Bradley. 3 more kills. 3 more kills. Come on, Bradley, go get him. 1v1 them. 1v4 them. He'll stick with the rest of his team. He's over the wall. Just baiting out Greasy, but they will retreat.
All right, well, they get the inhibitor in the 4v5. That's still an impressive feat nonetheless. They have about 1:45 left on their Baron timer. 2.5 minutes left before they can go for the Ocean Soul and secure the game. I mean, it's very difficult to say that they're not going to win from here.
Oh, Bradley, he's in a 1v1. He gets a kill. Nightstar chasing him down, though. Nightstar's got it.
They got him, Nightstar.
Nightstar! As the Vayne takes down the monster in the mid lane, Bradley, as we look at his corpse. But that doesn't mean that it's over. Wildcard Red, they still have a monstrous lead right now. And Conviction are going to need to find that maybe 20 more times before they're able to come back into this game.
Okay, they're looking for it. They're trying to find somebody, just anybody. They just need to get a fight started, and they will win pretty much every fight, but Winston's stunned.
Winston. Oh, he's taking a lot of damage. Wildcard Red, they're getting a little sloppy right now, Joshi. Play for top or lose. He is engaging. They're trying to take the fight with Winston very low on health, but you got to watch out for Bernini. Just flashes onto Nightstar. Gets back over the wall. Yuli and Nightstar repositioning, but already Danosaur's dead yet again. Teleport from Greasy Watermelon, but he misses the ultimate. No one hit. Oh, disaster. The 4v5 yet again. One by the side of Wildcard Red. They continue chasing under turret. They will back off, though. Let these minions do the work for them. They don't need to go for the bottom turret, though. Bradley, he's back in, everybody. The Lucian, he heard us. He wants those 2 extra kills. Can he get it onto Nightstar? He's exhausted.
So
he has
close.
to flash away. The Colin comes out. Play for Lose goes down. Get Nightstar.
Oh, no!
Daption took it. Daption took the kill. Oh, Bradley got it. Don't end. You can't end right now. You gotta go for another one. It's not gonna happen.
Daption!
Oh, 11 kills is all that Bradley can get, but Wildcard Red, regardless, will further prove why they are the best team in all of Amateur right now with a dominant performance against Conviction.
I got one last important analysis point. Even though I was wrong, Kangas, about it being under 23 minutes, more importantly, you were wrong. It was just over 25 minutes. 25 minutes and 15 seconds.
To be honest, I wasn't. I was paying so much attention to Bradley getting kills. I wasn't looking at the timer above him.
Yeah. We are 0 for 4 on our over-under so far, Kingers. We're not doing so hot today, but Wildcard is pretty hot. They're doing pretty good.
They're doing all right. I think that they're laughing at us by assuming that we could possibly curse them with our predictions here. And I mean, let's be honest, everybody. If you're watching that game and you're not aware of Wildcard Red or the amateur circuit right now, this is just how good they are. They do this to many teams in the amateur scene. There's only a couple that can actually compete with them, and usually they only find them in the finals. So let's see what goes on with the rest of this series. But let's take a look at some of the replays here from this last game. Honestly, mostly just for the fun. It was a really scrappy game.
A lot of the early game, we're just kind of noting like what went well for Wildcard, what didn't. I believe our first one is this 3-minute bot lane dive, right? They just come through, and the biggest thing here is, you know, Dinosaur very heads up, turns onto Daption immediately, but it's still so hard as we get another teleport coming in from both the top lane and the mid lane of Conviction, and it still just doesn't matter. The dive is clean enough, you get the kill, you back out, and because the slow is left over from Winston, they're able to turn things around even at this position, right? It is so difficult for Conviction to play up against these guys because there's so much coordination, there's so much understanding of how the game actually works. They have to go for these crazy aggressive plays.
And if you're going to go for double teleport play like that bot side, you better make sure you pull it off, because if you don't, you're losing plates in CS and XP top side, you're losing plates in CS and XP mid lane. So I mean, from that moment, the game was pretty much over for Conviction. They tried a couple other times, and we'll take a look at those fights as well. Next up, we have the 2v2 fight around the 9.5-minute mark here. Conviction didn't have many more plays, like you were saying, other than just try and find somebody caught out from Wildcard Red, because at that point, they weren't going to scale anymore.
They managed to do it a couple of times, and this one is impressive as well, right? Because it is an opportunity for them to recognize that they have a small window when Daption leaves, and they say, oh, you were gone for a couple seconds? Well, that's the window that we need, and Nightstar tries to get the cool condemn down, doesn't quite do it, but it's one of the places where we ask ourselves, oh, wait, can Nightstar's Vayne do it? And the Daption's like, no, come here. There you go. We're done. Calm down. You're still playing against Wildcard Red here.
Yeah. And then he was even able to push that whole wave in, deny even more XP and gold away from the Vayne. Impressive stuff from Daption, to say the least. We went into this day, and you were saying that he's one of your top supports right now in the amateur scene. I think other names we can include around that list: Breezy, Rhino, maybe Busio. But yeah, Daption had an incredible performance in this game. And from the get-go, I mean, as soon as they hit level 2, they were already winning those trades, calling that dive into the bottom lane. So, yeah, no surprise, Wildcard Red looking incredibly strong. But we have one more replay to take a look at around the 13-minute mark here. And it's crazy to think that this was halfway through the game. I mean, this was a fast one.
It's just watching Wildcard just go for all these big plays was really exciting to see what they were actually trying to do. And I remember which one was this. Brandini turning things around all on his own. He just gets the kill in the 1v2. Yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time looking at the bottom side of the map and how everything was going well for Wildcard there. Brandini had a fantastic time because of the amount of time that Gwen spent on the bottom half of the map, where he ended up giving up a lot of the lead, and it allowed Brandini to overcome some of the early deficits that the matchup was providing. And when you're losing in the bottom half, you're losing in the top half, there's not a lot of places left for Conviction to look. So Brandini, he's on a bit of an island for a lot of the game, but it was a very fruitful island.
He was also able to get solo kills on his own. The fact that Yuli was going, like you highlighted, that Eclipse build, so lethality, Omnivamp, sure, but you're not getting like defensive stats there, so Renekton can just shred through you, basically burst you down, and yeah, we saw that happen in that play. Not much more to break down from that one, everybody. Wildcard Red back to their old tricks here, not missing a beat, and this is technically their first series of the entire tournament since yesterday they had the forfeit from AoE Vice. This is our first look at their form, and they're looking damn good right now. We're going to send it to a short break here while we get ready for game number 2, everybody. Make sure that you do your stretches, grab your water right now, because we'll be back with more League of Legends action right after this. Hello and welcome back, everyone. We're preparing for Game 2 as Conviction look to take on Wildcard Red, and you know they're feeling for it. They're looking. It's in the distance. They're still chasing that victory right now. We'll see if they have any chance of it in this game number 2, because that was a very one-sided matchup in game number 1. Joshi, Wildcard Red. Yeah, that was a shellac, and they're showing us why they're so strong. So let's talk this through from each team's perspective. Starting with Conviction, they're on the back foot right now, but they showed signs of life. They showed willingness to go for fights despite being behind. So if you had to give them a report card from that game, what would it be? And also, what would you like to see change going into Game 2?
Relative to expectations, I'd say, honestly, I'd probably give them a solid B, right? Like, I was expecting them to get beaten really resoundingly, but they were willing to go for plays, and they had a couple moments of brightness where they were actually able to find people caught out and get a couple of kills that I wasn't expecting them to find. So they probably did better than I honestly expected, and I'd like to see them do similar things in this game. I thought their composition was a bit wild. I think if they show us a little bit more early game aggression in the bottom lane by changing the Vayne to something that can actually do a lot of these aggressive plays, I think it'll give them a lot more success, because it was kind of the weak spot in their early draft.
I'm not sure champ pools. Again, Gamepedia is not showing us anything right now, so it's tough to know. But if that was a Draven, just saying. Could have worked a little bit better. I mean, it's all here or there as the draft. Obviously, we don't know the players' champion pools and also the order that things were drafted in, since they're doing pro draft right now, and then we're just catching up on the live client to kind of break down what the team compositions are. Makes it tougher to know when that Vayne was picked up, because it did kind of confuse me a little bit that they went for it. Maybe it was a pocket pick. Maybe they just saw like Renekton, Nautilus. I don't even know at that point what you'd want to play the Vayne into with that team. I'm trying Conviction. I'm trying to give you some props here in the pick and ban phase, but obviously they still got a couple kills. Nightstar did have a few pop-off moments on that champion, so to me that signals it was comfort.
It does show that he had some idea of how to play the champion, right? I don't feel like it's going to be easy for them to go up against Wildcard Red's bottom lane pretty much no matter what they pick, but something that has a little bit more power early on will give them the freedom to try and go for some of these plays, because we saw that it started off brutal even at just level 2. The only other thing I want to say about Conviction is, you know, keep going for plays, right? It's going to be very hard to try and take these games late up against Wildcard Red, just because of how strong they are and how willing they are to scrap up against your team. So you got to be willing to throw the counter punch, get hit, but also be willing to try and hit them in the face at the same time. You block and then do something. It's basic boxing.
It's basic boxing. It really did feel like what that game was. It just slugs back and forward. Now, I will say, if you're up against a team like Wildcard Red, the reason that I'm happy with their performance is because you got one of two things. You can either keep fighting, keep trying, or you can just let yourself get shut out and play defensive and then just lose everything on the map. Because Wildcard Red, whether you're fighting them or whether you're trying to play defensive, they're going to keep making plays themselves. So if you're not the one trying to make counter plays or trying to make plays before them, they're still gonna like balloon that gold lead regardless either way. So that's why I think why we're giving some credit to Conviction is that they took that option number A of like, hey, even if we're losing, even if we're 10K behind, let's keep fighting, let's keep going for crazy plays.
It's a difference that I like to point out in losing like KT versus losing like Jin Air, right? KT, you know, even when they would lose games, they would go down fighting. They would try and make plays. They would be the ones who they're just going to hit the Baron to force the issue early, whereas Jin Air is like, nah, I don't like this fight. I think we're going to get a better one in 15 minutes. And at that point, it's just like, well, you're just not doing anything. You're waiting for them to make a mistake, and anything like that just means you're just going to be in a brutal spot where the situation gets worse and worse, and eventually you have to defend your Nexus.
I mean, did you name drop KT on purpose? Because we do have Arrow in this game.
Did a little bit, yeah.
All
they
right,
do like
I
to
like
fight.
that. I noticed that. And that's just, I think, is reflective on also Wildcard Red's standpoint. So we talked about a lot about Conviction. Now let's bring things over to the Wildcard Red side. It's kind of tough in a game like that to really put a pulse on like, oh, what did they do well? What could they improve on? Things like that, because it was so chaotic and scrappy. But if you can kind of think back to especially the early stages, especially that early dive and the pathing of Winston, I mean, how would you rate their performance so far?
Pretty good. I mean, also probably like a B, right? Like, I know I've seen Wildcard play cleaner than this. There were a couple mistakes that they made where they were overextending and willing to make plays because they were so far ahead of where they were previously, and sometimes they worked out well, other times they didn't work out quite so well. So it's a matter of making sure they rein it in, and it's a question of, like, how do you want to use this practice? Are you using it to limit test things and see how much you can get away with? Because that's a valid way to play. Or you can instead turn it as, like, we're going to make sure we take no risks, or as few risks as possible, and win as cleanly as we possibly can. And that will also likely result in a very similar thing. You're probably going to beat Conviction. And so it depends on, like, where they're playing. I like to watch teams play as clean as they can in these kind of games, just to prove to themselves that they can do it, and it forces you to stay on your game even in these games that you expect to win.
And it just keeps you with good habits as well, because that means that they still have a game up against Evil Genius Prodigies later on in this group, and they are still favorited to win that, but that will be a much stronger opponent. So if we can take a look at the Group A right now, we'll get a look at that right now. Evil Genius Prodigies, they did drop a game to Conviction, so maybe this is going to be more one-sided than we expected. We were going into this one thinking, okay, Wildcard Red are favorited, but maybe EGP can take a game. But that's why we're looking at games like this against Conviction to say, Wildcard Red, can you keep your good fundamentals and make sure that you close them out cleanly? All that said, it is still entertaining.
It is
still fun when they have these crazy games.
I am expecting Wildcard Red to be, very exciting throughout this whole thing, because we are going to be getting to the draft here in a couple of minutes, but it is going to be a situation where Wildcard Red can do almost anything they want. I wonder if this is an opportunity for them to bring out things that are a little bit deeper in the pockets, pull up things that you would only otherwise play in scrims, because playing it in scrims versus playing it on stage, you do go into it with a different mentality as a player, right? In scrims, you understand that you're practicing, but here you know that even though it's practice, quote-unquote, you are still going for the win. You still need to actually perform on these picks, and so it changes how you play them a little bit.
I mean, playing like team coach role right now. I'm thinking for that same is like, no, we're not gonna show what we've been practicing in scrims against Conviction. And people are watching these streams right now. We got to keep those close to our chest. I also do think it's just a little funny that currently in this group, EGP are above Wildcard Red in the standings. Yeah. Somebody screenshot this, and then you can share this on Twitter right now and say, hey, look, EGP first in the group currently in day 2. Now's your time, EGP, Evil Genius's social media team. Get on that currently. We're still waiting for Pick and Ban to finish up here on the pro draft side, but I have heard that it will be very soon. So final thoughts here going into Pick and Ban, Joshi. If we can get a little predictive foresight, is there anything Conviction needs to take off the table? Anything the Wildcard Red you think also? Maybe that vein, just general things?
I mean, there was the only thing that I would even be remotely intimidated by coming out from Conviction, from what I saw, was the Gwen. Not necessarily even because it was super well piloted by top lane hero, and he did fine as the Gwen, but just it makes it hard for your marksman to play later on in the game. And when you are already showing that you want to play double marksman, Gwen is just really good into those kind of compositions.
Sure. So potentially taking that off if you're on Wildcard Red's side. I think if you're on Conviction's side, it's so tough because like, you can't really ban out Bradley. I was chatting with Cubby, who actually got to coach a collegiate team that played against Bradley when he was on Bethany at the MU LAN 2 weekends ago. And he said you can't ban him out. Like, it's just impossible. Like, there's no point in going after Bradley's champ pool, so you really have to look elsewhere around the map. But then you're looking at Brandini, again, playing since 2014. Arrow, playing since 2013. These are other players that have deep, insane champ pools. And also, one player, Joshi, that we haven't really highlighted, Winston had an insane performance in that last game.
Yeah, he was really enabling everything for the rest of the team. I mean, we talked about it at the beginning. It's like, player on bottom lane, make sure Nightstar doesn't have an opportunity to do much of anything, put him behind, and if you can go for these dives, you'll consistently look good. I think, as he said in some of his interviews, if you think there's something I'm missing, go back and actually watch my games, because I will show you that I can do it no matter what. We're going back into the draft now. Wildcard is up 1 game as the Kog'Maw taken away from Nightstar right away, and we're already seeing a bit of a pivot as Lucian removed for Bradley.
I mean, good luck trying to again ban away his champ pool. Obviously, the Lucian was a massive problem. Bradley, he didn't get the 12 kills, but he did get 11, so still pushing past double digits. And there you go. We do see the Gwen ban actually from Wildcard Red. So Joshi, congratulations. You got one of those. You got it.
We did it.
Yeah. So let's see, because the thing is, Wildcard Red, Bradley could still play other AD mid laners. He's played Yoda. He's played, I mean, honestly, I could see him even playing the Aatrox, but we already know that's going to be Brandini's. Interesting. We kind of got a throwback to like 2018 meta here with Aurelia Aatrox top lane.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's something that top lane here has played quite a bit. Hey, we are going to be seeing Greasy's Fizz.
All right, everybody. Well, we're in for a treat today. It's a 2018 meta. I meant 2015. Zed versus Fizz mid lane.
Let me do a bit of research real quick and come back with the last time Fizz. Okay, if GOL is to be believed right now, Fizz has not been played in a single competitive league. Okay, no, hold on. It just wasn't updating. It has been played a little bit, and the only like relevant player that has played it so far looks like it was Khan up in the top lane.
Wow. And when was that?
That was... When was this? This was in February.
Back in February? Okay.
Yeah. Triforce Fizz, played by Khan, up against LSB, where he played up against Summit's Gnar. So this is going to be something that we just do not see a whole lot. I'll be honest, I'm not even sure how Fizz builds these days, because it's just a champion nobody's playing.
Yeah, and again, just this matchup in particular, I mean, we looked up when the last time Fizz was played, but when's the last time we saw Fizz mid against Zed mid? That's got to be question. A long while. So maybe somebody can find that stat for us and let us know in Twitch chat. But rest of the composition here, Conviction, interesting choices, especially the bot side. They go for the Misfortune plus the Karma, a lot of poke, a lot of lane control, but not like a lot of synergy outside of just being able to shove in.
Yeah, I mean, the Diana plus the Misfortune is a cool combination because you do have the one ult into the other ult. You got a couple problems, though. One, Nautilus ult interrupts Misfortune really effectively, and two, you can't hit Xin Zhao or the Fizz with the Misfortune bullet time just because they both will just go untargetable during it. So, Conviction, they got some cool tools, but they're hard to use. And
also the Fizz ult. I mean, like, as soon as Misfortune stands still, she's putting a target on herself for Fizz to just go in. It's going to be fun. We get to see Bradley on Fizz, everybody. He just popped up with a Lucian. All right, over-under now, Joshi. Over-under now. Let's say, since he got 11 last time, let's say 11.5 again. Are we going over or under on kills?
I'm going to have to go over because this is the kind of thing where if Bradley has a decent game and it's probably going to be pretty good, he's going to get a lot of kills. Fizz is super feast or famine, and when he feasts, man, he's going to be one hungry shark.
All right, let's see. I'll take under, just for you know, we have some variety here on the desk. But we're sending it to a short break here before we're back with game number 2, Wildcard Red versus Conviction. Wildcard Red looking for the speed run right now. Conviction hoping to bring them to a game number 3. Either way, it's going to be a fun time. So do your strategy, grab some water right now. We'll be back after this. And welcome back, everyone. Loading on to Summoner's Rift for Game 2 between Wildcard Red and Conviction. That last one, it was a fun game for sure, but heavily in favor of Wildcard Red. Let's see if an interesting draft's going to help Conviction out this time around. In case you didn't catch the pick and ban, we got a Zed versus a Fizz in the mid lane. This one is for sure to be a fun time. And I believe the over-under, Joshi, 11.5. On Bradley. So if you want to participate, make sure in Twitch chat you say over or under, depending on how many kills you think he will be getting.
And just a quick heads up, we do have a little bit of information on where the pick order went. Dinosaur does note them, and hey, look, Karma pretty good at level 1, turns out. But we are learning that Zed was actually the B5 pick for Greasy Watermelon, whereas Bradley on the Fizz did have counter pick as his last pick. Brandini getting caught.
He's all alone, 1v3, but what? Oh, okay, Conviction back off. Yep. Would have liked to see them go for more there. I mean, they saw 4 members of Wildcard Red bot side.
Yeah, they don't have any crowd control, though, right? There's no way to force Brandini to stay. You're probably just going to be trading some flashes is the most likely situation there, so I don't blame them looking to back off. But Bradley on the Fizz going to be a big treat to see going up against the Zed. As you said, this is something that we used to see a lot. I remember a lot in Season 3 and Season 5 in particular, when Assassin metas were very popular in the mid lane. And the interesting thing that you had to pay attention to was the fact that they preyed on supports because they were so squishy and you could just kill them whenever you wanted to.
See, it's good that you have those memories of Fizz, because I started playing League in Season 5, and only started really watching Professional in Season 6. So my only, knowledge of Fizz, or, remembering of him being meta, was the tank Fizz top lane. Oh, that was awful. Versus Poppy versus Echo tank, back when that was the thing.
Oh yeah, I was a big Meta Golem abuser as the Fizz up in top lane. I had a lot of fun playing Blade of the Rune King Fizz back in the day. But no, back in Season 3 was when okay, Brandini's out. Was when we got to see Faker playing a lot of Fizz, and he would just blow people up, and he would just say oh hey, you're playing Zyra support, let me just jump on you and kill you while you're trying to ward. And it became very difficult for a lot of these squishier supports like the Zyra. The Brand was getting some play at the time to do anything because the assassins would just walk around and deny them vision. Oh no.
And it's also the Karma. We got a 1v1 mid. Ooh, Bradley barely outplayed there by Greasy, blows the Ignite, but Greasy does get up back to the safety of his turret without blowing Flash. That's the most important part right there. So Yuli going for an early dive topside here. Brandini just hits level 3. He's stunned under turret. Flash used by Yuli. Back out of Brandini. Play for top or die. Is taking a lot of damage. Brandini's still alive. Do they go back for the dive? Yuli's still here. Brandini, he used the flash already. Yuli hits the Crescent Strike, takes one turret shot. He was waiting for play for top or lose to go in, but the Aurelia had not stacked up the passive on the wave. It wasn't quite prepared yet, and now they have to back off.
Yeah, there's so much sustain in the kit. If you just give him time to use that E again, you are able to use the next part of your passive to get more HP back, and this is a lot of time that Yuli and play for top end up doing nothing with. They don't do anything other than trade 2 of their own flashes for the flash from Brandini. They deny him a little bit of CS, but he's still able to get most of the experience, and you'll notice he actually still has a level advantage going up against Irelia.
Daption just, twisting the barrel right there. The bullet around the minions gets flashed out of Dinosaur. They had already gotten heal and ignite out of them earlier. We didn't even see when that had happened. Arrow does take a big trade back, but still alive.
Okay, Yuli has to try and steal their own blue buff. We got a fight brewing, and Zed's far away.
Play for top or lose is going for it. Winston, he smite, steals it away. He got the buff. Play for top or die. Will die. Now Yuli has to retreat here. Has his mid laner to help back him up, but successful invade from Wildcard Red gets them the first blood and the blue buff steal.
That's really big because it means that Brandini, who was missing out on a lot of gold from the fact that they were denied CS, suddenly has it back. They just got their first blood, and Bradley, man, look at that electric damage. He just,
wow.
So hard to play against.
Yeah, that's just brutal for the Zed. And, I mean, credit, though, to Greasy Watermelon for still being able to trade decently with Bradley, but with that Corrupting Potion on the Fizz, you're just not going to out-sustain this. Bradley, even around the turret here, gets the auto, jumps out.
That's
Diagra's
gross.
turret.
What? What do you do against that? He just like walks up and just hits you and then leaves. I guess you just have to start hitting him immediately because you need to take less damage in all of these trades. But Bradley, right, this isn't a champion that we are seeing basically anybody play at this point, but he's showing a lot of comfortability on the champ and knowing some of the dumb tricks that you can play as Fizz. So we'll see what happens as we start getting close to level 6. We're going to take another look at the first blood. Winston, because he had time to farm, has a level on Yuli's Diana, and it does mean that they're going to be here first, have a bunch of extra stats. Not a better smite anymore, but it does mean that even though they both get double stunned, it's so hard for them to actually play through this fight just because they're down stats on Diana.
It's level 3 Diana versus level 4 Xin Zhao. Not just the level, but also the champions. Like, Diana's not going to be able to outduel a Xin Zhao in that situation, especially with the Aatrox hitting double knockup after double knockup.
Daption.
Looking for the hook again. Gets Dinosaur. No flash on the Karma. Throws out the ult with the W, but Arrow flashing forward. Gets the kill. Flash by Daption. Locking out Nightstar. Now the Misfortune's in some trouble. Has the flash as well. He's going to look to flash this one. Oh, just barely alive. Nightstar doing the mental gymnastics. The math in his head. He knew he was alive. Bradley in the 1v1. Oh, he's going to lose this. He's going to lose it. Under turret. He gets the kill, but Greasy Watermelon trades it. Oh, if Greasy Watermelon wasn't under turret, he would have won that.
Wow, okay, getting a kill onto Bradley. It is 1-for-1, but crucially, Bradley dies first, so he does get a couple of seals on his, or stacks on his Dark Seal. And that does mean that he will have a little bit more advantage there than he would have if he had died second.
Should look at topside. Yuli's here. Throw out the ultimate onto Brandini under the turret. They get the kill.
Firing back.
Conviction. Firing back, getting more for themselves. But now bot side, Nightstar stuck around. And now he's got to worry about Daption and Winston down here. Look at the CS differential in the jungle. Winston's already level 6.
Oh, Dana walks up. Okay, they don't know that, though, until it's too late. If Winston knew, he probably could have just jumped in right away. But he has a lot of power right now as the Xin Zhao. He's got some help from Daption. And with no smites around, they don't know where Yuli is, but they just know he's not here. No W.
Greasy Watermelon, oh, he takes it again. Yeah, he knew. He's like, all right, either I go up towards the Fizz or I go back. But Winston's right back on top of him. But there is a Karma on this Zed. You got to be careful. Now they get the Karma. Level 4, Daption gets on onto Dinosaur. Nightstar tries to jump onto Winston now. Slows him. There's no ult on the Xin Zhao. Can he get out? He's got the flash. Assassination from Greasy Watermelon. Now 2 kills on the Zed. Meanwhile, topside, Yuli just 1v1 Brandini. Okay. Looks like that was afterplay for Top or Lose. Died to Brandini in a 1v1, so it is just a trade up there, but still, kills getting picked up by Conviction. Overall gold fairly even.
Yeah, this is a limit testing game coming up from Wildcard because now they're looking for Nightstar.
Has to flash away. Nice, that's what you're saving it for.
Yep. But we're seeing just kind of this back and forth between these two teams. Greasy Watermelon has red buff. Uh-oh.
1v1 Bradley yet again. Oh, he gets the ultimate.
He also
Bradley
gets
trades yet again. He heals up. He's still alive. Oh, Bradley gets it. This time winning the 1v1.
That's just rude. He gets the heal at the very end from the Ravenous Hunter, but we get to watch this fight once again. And the big thing here is you got to feel for Dinosaur, right? He's just looking at it, but he's not knocked away by the ultimate because he's not the one challenged. That means he is perfectly in range for Daption. And then we get to see a little bit more of this fighting top lane. Brandini, this is a pretty clean 1v1. Not a whole lot that he can do, but it takes him just a little bit too long. So Yuli, close enough. Sometimes it doesn't matter that you win. Sometimes it matters how quickly you win. This is a situation where Brandini just didn't win quickly enough.
Joshi, I'm just going to say it right now. This is not the same as game number 1 where Wildcard, it was a crazy game. It was chaotic, but they were getting advantages. This time, gold's pretty even as, again, 1v1 play on the top side. Play for Top or Lose, gets a good trade against Brandini, and now flashes away here. Engaged by Yuli. Kill under the turret. Now play for Top or Lose. Oh, no, he started taking the turret. The wave wasn't there. Oh, he went too early, but Greasy Watermelon will turn it around with the roam from the mid lane, picking up a kill. This is actually pretty dead even in gold right now, Joshi. And this game state, it could still go either way, but Bradley, he's looking for it. He's coming.
He's 1v2. He knows they're both there. This is bold.
He's got the ultimate. He throws it out onto Greasy Watermelon. All the damage onto the Zed, but he's taking it right back here. Yuli trading, focused on the Fizz. He hasn't killed Zed. Greasy Watermelon, he gets out. Shut down to Yuli. Winston flashing in. What is happening in this game of League of Legends? He goes forward, ult back up on Greasy Watermelon. Oh, but the ult from Winston, he keeps himself safe. Crescent Strike. Oh, but Greasy Watermelon with the fast feet will get back to the turret. What is going on, Joshi?
Okay, we got a crazy game, but we're not done. You got to keep going.
All right, bot side 2. Nightstar's picked up here. He throws out the heal, but Arrow will get the kill. Depth charge from Daption. Just the swag ult, as Dinosaurs will make it back under turret.
Wow, okay, so we got to keep track of everything that just happened for the past couple of minutes, because there are currently 16 kills at 10.5 minutes as we get to see another replay. But I really want to take stock of where all the kills are at this point, because people are coming in, people don't know, is this a 1v1, is it a 2v2, how many people are going to show up, and when are they actually going to be there? People are taking a lot of plays without information on where the jungler is, on where the mid laner is, and unfortunately, I really just started taking the turret a bit too early, but we gotta start seeing these teams take this a little bit more controlled, because this is actually how Wildcard might end up dropping, and to their credit, how Conviction might end up winning. If they just take these fights that their opponents don't actually have the information on whether or not they're good fights, this is how Conviction can really bring it back. And it's crazy to see how many people participated in this fight top lane. 4 members of Wildcard ended up being up here at different times, and 3 members of Conviction.
Absolute chaotic game state so far. And once we get back to live, we'll see what the goal differential is, because before we went to break, it was about 1,000 in the favor of Wildcard. It still is. Winston looks for an objective here. They do have that first dragon as well, but Joshi, play for top or lose. He's here. So is Dinosaur. They might actually contest this.
This is a
play for top or lose, walks
for
forward. Brandini's here, and they have everybody around. Nightstar still bot side, so the 5v4 in favor of Wildcard Red. Already killed play for top or lose. Bradley gets a kill onto Yuli, and it's an easy team fight win for Wildcard. Chasing Dinosaur away. Still level 5 on the Karma. Cannot get away. Bradley chasing down with the help of Brandini. That's multiple kills, plus the Rift Herald over to Wildcard Red.
What a chaotic and brutal fight. It all happened so quickly. It's kind of hard to make sense of what happened, but now we're seeing Brandini going back down bottom, but he doesn't yet know that Greasy Watermelon is here to ruin his day.
Brandini, you got to be careful right now. Ultimate's on Zed. Ignite is as well. Nightstar doesn't have the ultimate, but still does a lot of damage as the Misfortune misses the first double up. Can he land another one right now? Brandini still alive.
Far forward.
Slowed. Greasy Watermelon going forward. Brandini will make it under turret. Doesn't have the ultimate, but he's taking a lot of damage right here. Greasy Watermelon. One more auto. He should have it. He can't find it. Oh, just barely picks up that kill, but Winston got onto Nightstar while he was diving turret, so Greasy will trade his 80 carry for the enemy top laner.
I honestly feel like Brandini's not giving a lot of respect to Conviction. He's like, yeah, we're going to outplay this. We know what's going on. And there's a situation there where Nightstar was playing really far forward, and you have to give him enough respect to say he's only doing this if he has friends nearby. And Winston, again, not paying attention.
Disrespecting as well, but he actually takes down Dinosaur. Couple turret shots as well, so he will fall. That's a big shutdown to Yuli. 4-2-2 on the Diana.
We're seeing every single time, King, is that Wildcard Red are individually better players. They have better awareness in a lot of these fights and what to actually do. They're winning a lot of the mechanical interactions between champions, but they're not necessarily being in the right spot in something that we typically credit them for. We oftentimes say, they have more information than the other team. They're moving around more intelligently, but they're making plays where they do not need to be aggressed on over and over again, but they are starting to pull ahead just because their macro is cleaner and they're putting the gold on the right places. They're moving more people to this fight, and every time they're the ones going for an aggressive fight, they're winning.
And if you're Conviction, you just got to give this up. I mean, it's not the end of the world if they get the Rift Herald. You don't have your 80 carry with you. You don't have sight of the enemy 80 carry, so just, give over the Rift Herald. It's not the end of the world. You're still getting played spot side. But yeah, they also showing some sloppy play. There's not a lot of macro happening across the board from either of these teams right now. It really is just duke it out, but Wildcard Red are getting ahead regardless with now 2 dragons on the board. Bradley could be in some trouble up here. Play for top or lose despite being 1-4. Just 1v1 Bradley. What are we watching right now? This Aurelia.
This
These
is what
are
I'm talking
buffs.
about.
They gotta be.
This is what I'm talking about, right? Like, what is this fight that you're necessarily going for? You don't know how many people are there. You're in the middle of a big wave, and you just have to respect your opponents, even if you think you're better, because it doesn't change. Like, it doesn't matter if they're a new player or if they're faker. They're still playing the same champion. If they make the right moves, they will end up coming out ahead in that situation. So, Wildcard Red, we said that we were a B earlier. I'm going to downgrade that to a C already, because I don't know, like, what's going through their head. They are looking to limit test this game. They already picked the Fizz, and so they're showing that right now, when you do this, you still need to play with macro. They're still very likely going to win this game, Kangas, but this is already the kind of play that would lose them games against some of our more experienced teams.
Exactly, and we were talking about in the pregame, you know, how we rated them and, you know, what they can work on. You were saying you're hoping that they play this next one a little cleaner.
Yeah.
So that way they keep their fundamentals, keep their good habits. But, yeah, that's not exactly what we're seeing. They're definitely having fun with
They are.
this
They're
one.
having a great time, but it's also the kind of thing where it's like, how much do you care about winning this game? Right, and it's the kind of thing where the answer is probably not very much, right? Like, you do have to recognize Conviction's already through to Proving Grounds qualifiers. Wildcard Red have already qualified for Proving Grounds twice over based on the fact that they got first in Cup and first in Risen. And you're playing this for practice, right? And
for prize money.
And for prize money, true. You are trying to get some of those dollars into your pockets. And so even if you lose this game, you can still rely on the fact that you're going to be able to beat them in Game 3. But it's interesting to me that
Let's see if they can beat them right now. In this fight, Yuli goes golden. Play for top or lose is in there with the ultimate. Bradley's taking a lot of damage. Winston as well. Ooh, the arrow misses. Chains of Corruption not landing on the Nicer. Dinosaur goes over the wall like a madman. Karma, what was that? Barely gets out of there, and Wildcard Red will actually win the trade.
Yeah, when we go back and watch that replay, I'm going to ask that our observers show us what the vision of Wildcard Red actually was for that fight, right? Because they didn't know where people were for that, and it was a situation where both teams were like, I don't know how many people are here, but I see some champions over there, and hey, we're actually playing Pokemon. Time to lock eyes and get this fight going. But it does mean that at the end of it, because Wildcard have been showing that they are stronger players, they're the ones who come out with a macro win again. So here, look at who knows what is going on. It's completely dark. You actually see 0 members. All you know is that Zed was recently bottom lane. And if anybody comes over, they still don't know where the members are. They just now see Yuli and say, hey, he's probably alone. Let's go for the fight anyway, right? And that's the kind of confidence that some of these teams will sometimes have when they are really far ahead, when you have an extra like 5,000 gold in your pocket. You know this play, it's almost always going to work. But in this situation, they just happen to be more coordinated. They had more people closer right at the beginning of the fight. And because they're kind of taking these flips, they're coming out ahead because of the more experience that they have.
And the fact that they're also getting objectives too. It's turrets after the play. It's dragons after the play. It's the Rift Heralds as well. So they are still in the lead right now. 3,000 currently in their pockets over Conviction. And they're also setting up around this next dragon that will be up in just over a minute right now. If they can find a pick or a couple kills here, that means Dragon's pretty much guaranteed for Wildcard Red. Play for top or lose. Very aggressively forward right now. Not respecting the fact that Bradley's here. And Chum the Waters comes out. Bradley picks up the kill. Even a teleport from Brandini will help them secure even more here as Danosaurus caught very far forward. Presumably getting some wards down, but that's the 2 picks that Wildcard Red wanted.
That's more of what we were looking to see. Did you notice how much time they took to corral the Irelia into the spot that they wanted? They had the information. They knew people weren't coming because there was a fight on the other side. They had the wards necessary to have an idea of if anybody was going to show up. The only place they could come was directly through the bottom lane. Wildcard Red being smarter about the fights that they're starting to take. They have more information on where Conviction are, and it's rewarding them with another turn. All the outers are now down for Wildcard Red. That gives them the time and the priority necessary to start playing for this Dragon 3.
Greasy will find another 1v1 against Bradley, though. It's not a fair fight as Winston is here. Jump the Waters lands. Zed ultimate, he goes back in. Oh, but he's out!
All right,
He
clean.
doesn't go for the kill onto Bradley. Easy watermelon. He makes it back to safety. Joshi, I think we're starting to see why a game was taken off of Evil Genius Prodigies here.
Yeah.
Conviction, they are still a scrappy team. They are still able to find these team
Oh,
fights.
interrupts it!
Right onto Nightstar. Misfortune ran directly into it, but they still trade one back. Brandini's dead, but the rest of Wildcard Red has shown up right now. Play for top or lose will go down. So will Dinosaur. And Yuli, so many members dead there in a double kill to Arrow. 7-0-3 on this Varus. He's looking to play a clean game. And now another 1v1 bot side. No ultimates are available for either of them, but there is an Ignite on Bradley. Fizz slightly in advantage right now. Oh, he lands the Playful Trickster, and now his ultimate's off cooldown. Jump the Waters right there. That's enough for the kill.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, now Wildcard are starting to play clean. This is what I was looking for from the very beginning. They're being patient. They aren't going for anything. And here we get to see, like, Greasy Watermelon, I respect the fact that he just, like, pieces out of this. It's so hard to actually get any further damage onto Bradley because you have no energy left over as Zed. It's one of the few things that gate how much damage you're actually able to put out at any given time. But this fight, just watch what Nightstar ends up doing this fight, because he unfortunately channels his ult and it gets instantly stopped. He gets no damage off of it, and he has to run away, and he doesn't participate in the rest of the fighting. And whether or not they could have won it, it's possible they could have gotten a couple of kills if they had the Misfortune DPS, but because he already leaves, it does mean that there's no chance for Wildcard Red to lose this fight. They just brawl it out, and now they're starting to build up a large lead. 23-12 in kills, 7,000 gold in advantage, and 3 dragons to 0.
If we can take a look at the gold differential right now for each player, if production can pull that up. Let's look at the bottom lane. Because I'm noticing that Arrow is a full item up over Nightstar currently, and yeah, that's reflected in the gold as well there. Big old 2,400 differential, actually 2,900 differential, if you do the correct map. And now we take a look at the items again, and you see that that is the completed item for Arrow. He's got the Serpent's Fang. He's also got the Mana Muni, or Muramana going into the Mana Muni. Other way around. I had it right the first time. Yuli, okay! Jump the Waters.
All right.
Is Zonia's right there. He avoids that damage. Bradley not finding that. But that's Baron started up here by Wildcard Red, and that means a conviction. They have to answer this. The Baron's already very low. It's going to go down. That's the Misfortune ultimate they were looking for, but Bradley goes golden in the pit. Greasy will go down. Play for top or lose. Tries to get something. He will trade one back onto Daption, but Bradley, with the outplay onto Dinosaur. It's only Nightstar left. The poor lonely 80 carry's got nobody to stand behind, nobody to hide behind, and Brandini is chasing him down with the help of Bradley and Winston onto the turret. Nightstar, no! Ace over to Wildcard Red.
And what else are they going to get with this? They already grabbed the Baron. Are they going to be able to get any turrets from here? I think they're just going to be able to grab a little bit more farm, but Wildcard Red, the decisiveness coming out from them, the ability to get picks before the fight actually starts, gives them the confidence that they need to just go for the Baron. Yuli died to start that off, and that just means that Wildcard Red confident that Winston's going to win all these smites. Bradley,
he's in a 1v1 against Yuli. Oh, he's outplayed him. To jump the Waters. Oh, he almost survives, but Winston has to trade the kills instead. Now Winston, can he go for the 1v2? He flashes onto Dinosaur, but misses it completely. Now back in onto the car, but he will get the kill.
Oh, God, no, Winston.
Greasy's gonna die. No. The Conqueror stacks from Winston, keeping him alive. Nightstar now has joined in.
Oh, it doesn't get over.
The wall. He's getting those autos off. But Winston, he's still healing up over the wall.
No.
He's back in. Oh! Winston almost takes the 1v3 extended trade. Not quite finding it, but wow, that was impressive.
Wow, just the amount of sustain he had during the whole thing was absolutely nuts. But here, you can just see Bradley finally finds a spot where he can really start pushing around this fight, and it forces everybody else to come in really odd 1s and 2s. So, I mean, Yuli ends up getting picked off by Bradley, and now with no smite left over, for Conviction, it's very difficult to go for this steal. They're able to, again, just go for this big brawl that the Aatrox and Xin Zhao are really particularly effective in, and just beat down all of the members of Conviction. So it's impressive to see how this team actually plays, right, when they are playing not the kind of sloppy just macro play that we were seeing previously. They were making odd plays, and now Brandini's just too strong at this point. He turns it around on Zed, and Greasy Watermelon unfortunately might be past his prime in this game because he is currently 6-6. He has he has the same number of kills as deaths, and that just means that Wildcard Red are probably too strong.
Now Brandini on the Aatrox with the Sterix completed, the Gore Drinker as well. A lot of healing, a lot of shielding, and it makes it very difficult for an assassin to actually kill him in that 1v1. Now Winston on the bottom side here, looking for Yuli. Not quite going to find him, but Bradley's also taking these turrets. We're past the 25-minute mark again, so this is going to be slightly longer than last time. But it's starting to feel more like last time now, despite the fact that the early game was pretty close. Oh, the Chains of Corruption just barely makes it. Oh, what a snipe from Arrow.
I mean, the difference now is they have more information. Arrow... Yeah,
oh, he's just destroyed. He's deleted. Zed found the right target that time. Now Bradley looks for the re-engage with the help of Daction. Winston's in two, and Greasy's dead. The ultimate for Misfortune is just not doing enough in these fights. Has not found the correct use of that. And that means more members are falling over to Wildcard Red. It's yet again only Nightstar. Nobody knows the trouble I see. Nobody knows as Nightstar all alone, chasing down by Brandini and Winston yet again. And under turret, he does flash this time. Can he make it away? He will. There we go. Nightstar, the lonely AD carry, makes it to safety.
Whew. All right, well, all his friends are dead. He's like the dinosaur, even though Dinosaur is the only other one on the team, right? But we're starting to see Wildcard. They have so much information. They know where people are. They see 3 people in mid lane, and so this gives them the confidence to be like, oh, well, we know where all of your friends are. At best, we're looking at a 2v2 that we think we can win, and at worst, it just takes us too much time to go, and we have to leave. Now, unfortunately, they then don't respect the fact that all the members are coming over to the fight. Arrow goes down a little bit too early, and once you actually have these even number of fights that you're opting into, or slightly overmanned, as we already see towards the end, then it becomes easy for Wildcard Red to win these. We see in the picture-in-picture that they are able to pick up what looks like the last dragon for themselves. Yeah, they have the Infernal Soul underneath their belt, so it is, at this point, pretty much a foregone conclusion that Wildcard Red are winning, but it was a fascinating glimpse into the Conviction versus EGP series now that we're actually at this point.
Now we're starting to see the Conviction. They can play scrappy games, and they are always willing to fight you. So it's making a little more sense that EGP did drop one game against them. In Conviction, they're already auto-qualified for Proving Grounds circuit qualifiers. So that means, hey, I mean, this is a team that potentially can take some games. Again, their journey to get here, they took a game off of Glaive in the open qualifiers too. So they could be a threat. Winston over the wall. Brandini as well. Play for top or lose. Has to flash just to stay alive. And Nightstar's ultimate yet again. The Xin Zhao just stops it, and he can't kill the Aatrox. Already Greasy's dead. Continual chase under the turret. Nightstar, I'm sorry, man. You're not going to be the last member surviving. This time it's your support. One is the loneliest number. And a double kill to Bradley. Wildcard Red. Oh no, Daption does fall. Not the cleanest ace. It is a 5-for-1 trade, but regardless, Wildcard Red reminding us all why they are the best team in amateur. As Bradley, he did it. Over 11.5 kills. He's got 12 in his pocket, dancing on his dead Nautilus. And that's going to be game going over to Wildcard Red.
Wow, what a crazy game overall. It feels like Wildcard, once they finally buckled down, it's like, hey, it's time to actually take this game seriously. It is going to be a situation where there's not a lot that Conviction really could have done. They're diving the fountain at this point, and they just know they can also just hit this Nexus whenever they want. Arrow wants to protect his KDA 10-2-7 at the end of the day, but it was just a situation where Wildcard Red, we never really had a lot of doubt that they were going to win, but it was a question of, you know, the journey matters more than the destination. We got to see a lot of plays from Conviction. We also got to see Wildcard Red both have a little bit of fun and then realize, okay, let's actually take this game seriously now.
The first 15 minutes was, it felt like Wildcard Red just like, all right, you want to scrap? You want to scrap? We'll scrap. We'll just keep fighting you over and over again. But then they just
I drink
they
your
also
Nobel.
they also got the dragons. They also got the
dragons.
turrets. They also got the Rift Herald. That's the big difference between the two of them. But man, what a fun game. Regardless, it's fun to watch Conviction. Actually, they're a very scrappy team. So let's start taking a look here. The big one was the first blood at 4 minutes. It was the first replay that we'll take a look at here. So Joshi, walk me through, because I mean, again, these fights were so scrappy and so bloody, but this one in particular.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see a lot of this play coming through. Like Daption and Arrow were rather consistently getting the better of Venusaur and Nightstar, and yeah, just watching them actually play through all of these interactions is big. But the first blood actually happens on the far side of the map, right? Where Brandini and Winston, because Yuli spent so much time trying to force a dive onto Brandini without success, it means that he hasn't spent the time farming. He hasn't necessarily picked up all the other things. They know how to fight, but they haven't necessarily shown the same kind of prowess that Wildcard Red has in spending their other time more effectively. And it does end up meaning that despite all of the bloody back and forth that we end up seeing, Wildcard shows at the beginning that they have the smarts to actually play this through, and then they end up coming back to it and was like, yep, we're back to where we were supposed to be in the first place.
Winston, again, having an incredible game. That's 2 in a row now, really making a name for himself as a jungler here in the amateur scene. I mean, again, we've seen him in Academy. We've seen him on Solo Fide, and now we get to see him here. Very impressive performance. I also want to call you out, Joshi. Play for top or lose. You actually had some pretty impressive plays, some pretty cool performances on carried champions. So, hey, we'll have to keep track of him throughout the tournament. Well, let's take a look at the final replay here. The rest of the game was just fighting. It was just back and forth. But we want to take a look at the end right here at the man himself. Look at this. Watch Bradley. Watch the Fizz player here as he's going for his 12 kills. Oh, okay. Watch him right there fail to get over the wall.
But Winston was able to get over the wall, right? It's a little bit easier with the blast cone. We touched on it at the very beginning, right? It's hard for Misfortune to be active in a lot of these fights. You don't have that much range, and in fact, Nightstar is not really able to do anything. By the time they get some auto attacks down, they just get turned on, and this fight was oh so clean, except for this. Daption dies to the turret after everybody's already dead, and why do you gotta do him like
just
that,
gotta
man?
celebrate a little bit. Yeah, I mean, he got his 12 kills. He's like, Daption, we were competing for kills in game number 1. What happened, man? I thought your Nautilus was supposed to be cracked.
Yeah, he's supposed to be pretty good. I'm a big fan of Daption. Super adorable, super humble guy, and of course, in this series, he was looking pretty strong as well. Every single time Wildcard was coming together and they took a reasonable fight, they were winning. If it was in question, Wildcard almost always came out ahead. So as long as they can continue to play like that, now that they've had a little bit of fun, now that they've got to test some of their limits, and Bradley's gotten to play his Fizz, I hope to see them play a little bit cleaner through the rest of it and hopefully continue to demonstrate why they are the team to beat, why they're Amateur's best hope for taking down some of the Academy rosters.
Absolutely. You're giving us a quick day, too, here, Joshi. We're already way ahead of schedule right now after that blistering fast series. But let's catch up on what's happening elsewhere around the tournament as well. Because while we're watching the games that are happening in Group A, Group B, the group of upsets, we do see Cloud9 Amateur take the 2-0 over OQ. And OQ had beaten Resolve, so that means that Cloud9 Amateur are currently in the lead here in Group B, or at least catching back up. You know, they lost to TSM Amateur earlier, but like they're still fighting back. They're proving that they still can take games off these teams that are also getting wins.
But it's not over in that group either, right? Because we still have TSM going up against Resolve that we do know is currently 1-1. So you're going to see a lot of movement in this group based on how that ends up shaking out. If TSM are able to maintain their spot at the beginning or at the top and Resolve ends up dropping down, we could see this group turn out in some very unusual ways based on the fact that OQ upset Resolve yesterday.
It could, but if Resolve is able to take this series against TSM and actually gets that 2-1, that means everyone's tied 1-1. That's probably worst case scenario for OQ, because again, their only chance of not making it into the Proving Grounds qualifiers is if they don't get at least 20 points. They would have to get 4th place, which gives them 10 points. And then they're tied with a couple other teams that are going for that last spot in qualifiers. If they get 20 points, if they can get at least 3rd in this group, they're automatically in. So that's what they're shooting for. So they're going to be rooting for TSM right now, because if Resolve loses this game, it's pretty much guaranteed that OQ will be making it in. But then we also elsewhere around here, Intrastate, 100 Thieves next. They're currently 1-1 against Maryville. That's a big one over in Group C. So let's take a look at that here, because Maryville, we were considering them favorites, but 100 Thieves, they were able to take the win against AOE Esports yesterday. That was a 3-game series, and I think that they're showing that they are a formidable opponent right now in this group.
Yeah, we definitely have 3 teams that came to play. Maryville, 100 Thieves next, and AOE Esports looking pretty strong back and forth, and we are seeing 100 Thieves, AOE, 2-1 yesterday. Now we're already going to Game 3, so this is a lot of people's group of death, and I have to say, it's really shaping up to be that way, as all these teams really having to compete for those top 2 spots in order to earn more qualification points and get a better seed in the Proving Grounds qualifier.
Yeah, well, that's everything that's going on right now across the groups currently, as we're still we're watching our series. So we'll keep everybody updated throughout the day, how things are shaping out there. Then you can also, of course, check at the end of the show where we should have everyone's final standings. But final thoughts here, Joshi, on the series that we just saw. Wildcard Red versus Conviction. Give me your thoughts on Conviction, and then let's talk about Wildcard Red.
Conviction, honestly, kind of impressed with how they were able to play. They were able to take a game off of EGP yesterday, and they thrived in the chaos. I wish I could say that they did more to actually generate the chaos as much as just walk around after all of the things that were going on, and Wildcard Red let them play that way. But it is a situation where if you can start doing this and start cleaning up some of the macros so that you get the fight and a little bit more after, I think this is a team that actually has a brighter future than I had expected based on what I had previously seen.
Yeah, that was their final game in this group, or their final match in this group, because AOE Vice unfortunately did have to drop out again. Thoughts of the players that were hoping to compete there. But that means that even without picking up a match win, they're still going to the Proving Grounds qualifiers. They did get a single game win against EGP, and they also were able to take down Glaive in the open qualifiers coming into this tournament here, the EGL Summer Showdown. I think that they're a legit team. I think that they showed us here, even though they lost in very quick games to Wildcard Red. I got to echo your sentiment. If they just fix some of that macro, but keep the aggression, I'm excited to see what they can do going forward. Yeah. Wildcard Red, though, they're very the champs.
Oh,
they're the reigning champs. yeah. No, you're talking about that with Conviction. Yeah. Now moving on to Wildcard Red, they're the champs. They already have won 2 of the Tier 2 tournaments. So honestly, it's sad to say, but this was expected, right?
It was expected. It was always expected that Wildcard was going to 2-0 here. The only reason why we had any doubt again was because we've been having a lot of upsets on the main stream.
True.
So with Wildcard Red breaking the streak, we might get to see a little bit more standard gameplay from here on out.
Well, we'll see what happens, because next up we got Supernova versus Zeus Gaming. Another potentially heavy-sided matchup if you're a Zeus fan. They got a scary-looking roster coming into the summer. So we're going to send it to a longer break here. We're going to rehydrate, get some food in us while the break's going on. So make sure that you're doing the same. But stick around, because we got more League of Legends action coming up next year for the EGL Summer Showdown. I need some water, so let's send a break. We'll be right back after this.